So much to say in so little time. It's already 12:03. No, so that's because it's also Rosh Chodesh Elul, and with Hallel, so or a little longer. The question is, why are the holidays juxtaposed with the laws of taking care of the poor and giving the poor new opportunities by relinquishing debts in the sabbatical year, by the freeing of slaves in the 7th year? But the place to begin is with the wedding ceremony for the following reason. There is, our tradition teaches, no greater moment of joy than a bride and groom who have found each other, who before family and friends celebrate a commitment to live their life together. For the rabbis, that moment of a bride and groom coming together, it's for that reason that is the moment of greatest joy, that the rabbis imagine Shabbat as a bride and groom coming together. For Shabbat, for the rabbis, is the moment in which there is finally wholeness. After working day after day, one day a week is set apart to taste what is possible of a world that is already whole. And again, that coming together, that symbol of wholeness and joy, Shabbat is a bride coming to her beloved. And yet, at the wedding, in the moment of greatest joy, there's a breaking of a glass. Why is a glass broken in a moment of joy? In the Talmud, in Brachot 31a, and I thank my researcher, my wife, for finding the page number for me so I could take a second look at the Talmud. In Brachot 31a, there's already a rabbi, he's living in Babylonia, named Amemar ben Ravina. His daughter is getting married. And it's already a few hundred years since the temple's been destroyed, and people are feeling caught up in the moment. And they're letting go in joy. And he goes into his home. And he finds a fine piece of crystal. And the Talmud actually gives the price, 400 zuz. I don't know how much that is, but you know from the Pesach story you can buy a goat for a few zuz. 400 zuz is a lot of money. He goes and he finds, if you will, his most valuable crystal object. And he goes out to the dance floor, and as everybody is having a great time, he takes it and he smashes it. And that gets their attention. Everybody stops. And he says to them, even in this moment, which is joyful, even in this moment that's worthy of feeling the goodness of life, let us not forget that there's another ingredient to our lives, that the temple was destroyed. We should never fully let go of knowing that even in our greatest joy, the world is incomplete. The notion that life is incomplete up close is a really Jewish move. To only experience joy, or to seek to only experience joy, is a goal. It's a messianic goal. But in this life, as we live it, there is also sorrow. There are things that we can't control in this life that leave us feeling incomplete. And so this is a moment for me just to pause, to acknowledge Noah Crum. because this will be a weekend of great celebration. But it is the Jewish learning that even in our greatest moments of joy, even in this room of memories of bar and bat mitzvahs and now in Ufruf, there's also a memory of this room of loss. Because that's what it means to be real, not to dwell on it. The breaking of this glass is but a moment. It's a footnote, literally a footnote, as it's broken with the heel. But it's to be part of the fabric of life in its wholeness, which leads us back to our Torah reading. There's a mixed message in chapter 15. On one hand, it says that there will not be poor among you if you follow my commandments. And then a few verses later, it says there will always be poor. Panic. In the world that we live in, that's why there is a need for empathy. Because but for the grace of God where I go, I am whole physically. But there's no guarantees in any moment for any one of us. Things happen. And they happen not only in terms of our bodies, they happen in terms of our national health, they happen in terms of our economic health. And therefore, the challenge of the Torah from God's point of view is to see the world as a caring parent for all peoples. Because a parent loves and accepts his or her children knowing that some are up and some are down, and that's just reality. And so in chapter 15 that we read this morning, verse 15, it says, "And the slaves who are Hebrew slaves shall go free because you were slaves in the land of Egypt." Why are the holidays of chapter 16 juxtaposed with chapter 15? Because our holidays are all bittersweet. When we sit at our Seder and when our guests leave, we hope they leave happy. We hope they leave uplifted. Your eyes water so that you know and easy. And is not easy for everybody in our own day. Those three holidays of chapter 16 are reality testing through collective memory. They all deal with the emergence from slavery. Remember you were slaves, 15:15. And therefore you will commemorate it in chapter 16. You will commemorate it with Passover. And you will commemorate how you were helpless in the desert and I took care of you. And you will remember that dependency with Sukkot. And then at Shavuot, you will stand before Mount Sinai and you will take on a commitment that will allow you to see the world through my eyes. But it's a world view that comes with being a religious people, a holy people. It comes through a world view in which you collectively remember what it means to have tasted slavery. Most people, they tell of the glories of their past. Let us be great again. Let us be as great as we were. But the Torah and the prophets in our Haftorah today say, people, you're messing up. You're not as great as you could be. You're not living up to that covenant. You have grown arrogant. Arrogant. What is the one adjective used to describe Moses in the entire Torah? The one who was tasked with bringing the people out from Egypt? Humble. And what is the key motif of the prophets? You have grown arrogant in your successes. Back to 15 and 16, and to pull this together. We are privileged to live in a time and place in which we have food on the table. That has not always been true for Jews. For most of our history, it's not true. There's always been uncertainty of economics. We are privileged to live in a place and time in which we have enormous freedom, in which we are citizens of a great country. That was not true in Jewish history. The first country to give Jews the right to vote in the world was the United States of America. No country in Europe had given that right at that point. We are privileged to live in a time and place where we have shelter, by and large, some more and some less. What our Torah challenges us to do is in our moments of greatest joy, in our moments of feeling our most successful, to have a larger perspective, to know that economic equality is how God yearns to see his children live. That's a mighty task. Because as I said at the beginning, a mitzvah is a command because it goes against the grain. The grain is to take care of ourselves, first, foremost, and more. The Torah challenges us to see the world from God's point of view. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, when we celebrate the chuppah tomorrow, may it be a moment of great, great rejoicing. And yet, when that glass is broken, may we be reminded, as a Maimar ben Ravina taught us, that even in our greatest joy, we should be aware of the incompleteness and our responsibility to help bring that messianic moment of wholeness to all. And let us say, Amen. Our service continues. We're privileged to have Erica Velasquez, just back from cantorial school at the Jewish Theological Seminary, leading us in a relatively quick musaf. Before lunch, we rise.